Well, of course, everybody's had their eyes on Falcons, right? You're looking for this super team performance. You're not getting that. And of course, people are starting to criticize. And on top of that, Hal's coming to the defense here because obviously he believes in this team. And this is one thing I really like to see in esports in general, but we haven't seen that really. And that's one thing I've really been a big complainer of in the last couple of years. You see problems and immediately these rosters just split up. They break up. You don't really see people actually, believe in a roster, believe in a team, continue to push forward for that roster, and they'll always point fingers and start blaming one another. At least that's been my perception of Apex in the last couple of years. I really wish teams would stick it out and believe in one another. But I like what I'm seeing from Hal here. I really think that despite the fans kind of being like, Hal, you're a good IGL, Hal, you need IGL, Hal, you're the best in the game, it seems like he's really going at bat. No, guys, look, Zero is who we want. Trust me, we are going to figure this out. We're going to put this together. And so, in contradiction, though, a couple of weeks ago, we had talked about Hal kind of saying, hey, I know my identity. I know I've kind of realized in all of this who I am. And I guess there's always going to be that natural born desire of leadership in Hal because of who he has been over the last couple of years. So what Hal does in the future of his career, obviously time will tell, but I think right now he's very sold on this Falcons roster. And I love to see that because I want teams to be that way. I want all the rosters to be that way. And so you actually had this revisitation of this conversation, right? Because in the last couple of maybe a year or so, it's been Hal and Zero top IGLs in the world. However, probably 3 years ago, before the Zero conversation started, it was really Sweet and Hal. And so Hal had made a comment that the only person he would let IGL him would be Sweet. The problem with Falcons, he says, this is coming from exclusive, is that Hal is the best IGL and the fragger on the team. So Hal responds here saying that has changed since it was a while ago. No matter who is the best on what team, you need to give the same respect to my teammates the same way you give it to me. Like I said, I'm all about this style of, going at bat for your teammates and sticking up for them and saying, hey, I understand you guys are a fan of me. I understand you guys like me. I understand you think I'm the best in the game, but also consider my teammates the best in the game the same way you always hyped up Reps. You always hyped up Big E. It seems like this environment's not the same. Fans hype up Hal, but they don't hype up Waltzy. They don't hype up Zero as much as they used to with the other rosters. And that's kind of what's going on. Well, Hal also kind of opened up about what happened and why they got 18th place in BLGS. This comes after getting 20th in finals for split 2 playoffs. This also comes after, obviously, they were playing with the substitute last BLGS, not getting the performance or even making finals there. Now, given they also had a short notice of playing with this roster, it's not like they've been playing together necessarily as much because just recently you did have the visa issues. You did have this substitute that they were practicing with. So I do say give it a little bit more time. I'm sure they'll be back in better form, but here's what Hal had to say about their 18th place performance in the BLGS. Roll the clip.
We need to keep the communication up when we play like finals and shit. Like sometimes we like show up and don't like communicate as much as we should be because we're just quiet or whatever the reason is, So I don't know. We need to show up and act like we want to be there and want to win. That's pretty much it. Because yesterday we showed up with like low energy and not really caring in a way. So that can't be the thing. Someone needs to play Newcastle, James, and it doesn't really matter who the f it is. We all need to do our role. Doesn't matter if I'm playing this or playing that. Like, everyone on the team is capable, or anyone is capable of doing anything, as long as we practice at it and work at it. So it doesn't matter if I'm playing Newcastle, I can still do my part, and same with the other two. So doesn't matter if Zero's IGLing or anyone. Like everyone, I believe on anyone on the team can do anything. We just need to practice. Simple as that. Doesn't matter if who's on Newcastle and who's doing what. Why try to work around people's strengths? Because everyone's strengths on the team are all similar. We're all similar players on the same team.
So I think it's obvious the reason we're making this video now is because a lot of fans disagree with that. I think Hal makes a fair point. The idea of emotions behind it is all legitimate. It is a real thing. I think momentum, there's been a lot of argument I've seen on Twitter timelines about how momentum is not a real thing. It's not a real factor, but emotion swings are definitely legitimate, and you can see that all across esports. And it's all about basically boosting the confidence. And a lot of people, whenever they have the confidence that they can accomplish something, they tend to actually accomplish it. So I'm on board, and I do agree with, you know, especially when you're the player in that team. You can never really say, I guess from the outside perspective, we can have our opinions, we can be critics, but inside the team, a lot of times you can understand or get that vibe or feel what the team needs to do. Obviously, Hal has his side of the story. A lot of the fans seem to think that maybe Hal's playing the wrong role. Maybe they're not, you know, coordinated correctly. Maybe it's all meta changes, right? We've seen them better with different styles of metas. Now that we're changing metas consistently, sometimes when those changes happen, things don't go well. We saw that with Jin Burton when he got stuck on crypto. Things did not go well, even though we know Jin's a good player. We know he's a world-class player. However, that's just the name of the game sometimes. Now, speaking of that, you know, that's what these comments came from, which, by the way, just shout out Olympus Shill. Love the fact that we're using my thumbnail on the Reddit thread. Most of the time I see myself on Reddit, I'm getting bashed for some BS bullcrap. Don't care. This time, nobody had a really bad thing to say, and I guess because they probably didn't even know it was me. But I appreciate it because I love to see that my stuff is being used in a good way, the way I would want it to. Shout out to him. Also, we've got to talk about this because it is important. Meta changes are in the works. I know we just mentioned it and how kind of this whole dynamic has changed for a lot of teams, but we're about to go into even more meta changes, at least according to leaks. If you haven't seen my main channel video talking about a lot of these things, it looks like additional support class perks going to be updated here, and you may see even more of a boost in the support legends, because not only are you having the support class perks, but you've also got Lifeline specifically keeping our passives, apparently getting an additional passive with gliding in the air. And on top of that, keeping the tactical, but also being able to like let the drone follow your teammates. That's going to be crazy. But we've also seen from Hypermist that maybe the Doc drone, you know, revive might not be a thing. Who knows? But it is rumored season 23 support class buff. This is what it is. No movement slowdown when healing. I think that's big, especially from getting away and trying to keep your momentum while you're trying to escape. Also, small heals will do twice as much like level 4 armor. That is a big one, especially when you're thinking about popping syringes in a bad spot. You're getting naded out like crazy, and you can start to pre-pop those things and not have to worry about nades exploding on you with a Phoenix kit or a med kit. It's easier to pop these syringes, and I think that's going to be really huge. But also people were like, okay, yeah, Lifeline, whatever, but imagine Conduit with these things. What about Newcastle? He's already insane in comp, but now he's gonna probably be a must pick. I think that's a definite fair point. So who is going to be out on front or out on top when it comes to these meta class changes? Because they are going to be important. They definitely will have some implications into competitive. Also, as we wrap the video up, wanted to make mention of this. 100 Thieves have sold their franchise slot in the LCS, but will remain as a guest team for the 2025 League of Legends season. Why does this have anything to do with Apex? Well, they basically had a buyback from Riot, and you just wonder, okay, are they getting extra funds? Are they putting themselves in a better financial position than where they were 2 years ago? We saw Nadeshot and some other individuals in management for 100 Thieves that basically talked about their finances and how things weren't necessarily that great. Even in the year that they won the Call of Duty World Championship, they still were losing money. I think that the last couple of years have been a restructure, trying to figure out how can we become more profitable, how can we stop taking on so much. I think that you may see some better financial scenarios in some of these organizations, and we're hoping 100 Thieves will at one point come back to Apex Legends. We've also seen Nicewig do a lot of teasing, or hey guys, the BLGS stream is doing so good, it would be really nice if we kind of hopped on this together. Hey, it would be really nice to see 100 Thieves back in Apex, and he's kind of teased some roster stuff. I really hope that at some point 100 Thieves will come back. God only knows if it'll actually happen. We've seen a lot of organizations come back into the scene and then unfortunately leave right after World Cup was over. So how much more of that will take place? Time will tell. Of course, like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all things out of the world of Apex Legends, esports, news, and drama relations to roster, tournaments, and much more. Until the next time, we'll see you all later, Gators.